Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Explore Richland. I'm your host, Mark Ingham. Well, today we are out exploring in one of Richland's most historic neighborhoods. So let me ask you a question. How familiar are you with our city's rich history? Well, if the answer is not very well, then sit back, turn up the volume, and fasten your seatbelt because we are going to take you on a wild ride. We are about to explain what happens when you take a secret World War II project, add in a booming population, and finally build a city in a desert. Well, to help make sense of it all, we have asked museum educator Terry Andre to the program. Terry, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me here.
You bet. Well, you are leading an educational discussion as part of the community lecture series at the Richland Public Library. So what piece of Richland's history are you sharing?
Oh, we are going to look at PREFABulous Richland, which of course are the prefabs.
Okay.
So we're looking at 1944 to about 1946, and of course people are still living in prefabs today. So we might throw in a few stories that are a little bit more modern than that. But I'd really like to focus in on how the prefabs came to be. And to do that, you know, Connie Eastep, who used to work at the Crest Museum, the curator, she'll be with me. But we have another expert that we are going to lean very heavily on to tell the story of the prefabs. Perhaps you've heard of him. His first name is Dupus, and his last name is Boomer.
Well, yeah, that is a name I'm actually very familiar with. But to the younger generation, maybe to those that are new to Richland, Dupus Boomers, they might just think that's the new restaurant on Swift and George Washington Way. So tell us a little bit, who is Dupus Boomer and what is was his role in Richland?
Oh, Dupus Boomer is a wonderful character that came out of the 1940s. Dick Donnell created him in 1944. And Dupus shows us Richland with kind of a humorous bent. So he's going to take a look at how life was during the time of the early Richland days, and you know, he's kind of the blue-collar Dilbert of that time frame. So the little dollop of humor mixed in. You know, when I first heard about Dupus Boomer, I thought perhaps it was a misspelling, and I thought maybe they meant like a doofus. But then taking a look at it, you take Dupus's name, and the first part of his name is DUP, and that stands for DuPont. And DuPont was a contractor that was here at the time. And then you take the second part of his name, which is US, and that stands for United States. And then Boomer, well, my first thought here was, oh, blowing things up. But no, that refers to it being a boom town. And how we went from 243 people to 11,000 people within 2 years. It was certainly a boom town.
Wow, yeah. And Dupus Boomer definitely provided a lot of comic relief to some, I guess, tense or stressful times here in that time. Do you have a favorite Dupus Boomer cartoon?
I love the cartoon where the wind is blowing. And of course, you know, the wind never blows here. I mean, obviously, it blows a lot. So anyway, when the wind is blowing and things are all over the place and you can look in the corners, there's all different kinds of things that are blowing around in the wind. And in the far left-hand corner, there's an outline of a cat. Like, I wonder if there's a story behind that. Well, there is. And we'll be telling that story during the program on Thursday the 21st.
Oh, that's amazing. For me, the homes here in Richland are always, you know, unique. They're exciting because I remember words like Camp Hanford, terms like alphabet homes and prefabs. How do they all mix together?
They all come together.
Yeah.
Well, in order to build the top secret B reactor and the surrounding buildings and the other reactors, you need a huge workforce. So you do need construction workers who primarily work or live in construction camps. But you also need people to operate the plant and do other tasks. So you need a workforce, and to do that, you also need places for them to live. Now, the small farming community just didn't have enough houses. So the architect, Pearson, was identified. He was from Spokane. He came up with a plan for different houses and designating the types of houses with letters of the alphabet. So if you were a blue-collar worker, you would live in an A house. And an A house is a two-story duplex, so you'd have half an A house. If you were a mid-level manager or a mid-level scientist, you might live in an F house, which is actually my favorite house, is the F house. Or if you were an upper echelon person, you might end up in a G house, and there are only 8 G houses built.
Oh, wow.
So it tells you how few people were lucky enough to get a G house.
Wow.
But then people came in too fast. They needed a way to put up housing very fast. And that's where the prefabs and the pre-cuts come in.
Okay.
But the prefabs came first in 1944 to 1946.
So yeah, Terry, we've talked about the content, the information, what you're going to be talking about at your community lecture series that's coming up. I'm just curious, how are you going to present it? What can people expect at the presentation?
Okay. Well, Connie Estep and I will be kind of tossing the ball back and forth between the two of us, and it'll be a PowerPoint presentation, and it will be a mixture of old photographs, many of which came from the Hanford collection, and Dupas Boomer cartoons. And we'll keep it light.
Wow, that's great. Well, Terry, thank you so much for coming on the program today and talking with us about your upcoming community lecture series at the Richland Public Library titled Dupas Boomers PREFABulous Richland. The presentation is free and is also on Thursday, December 21st from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Richland Public Library. And it's a fascinating topic, and we strongly encourage everyone to come out and check it out. Now, if you would like more information on anything City of Richland related, visit the webpage at the link below. And if you're not interacting with us on our social media platforms, I strongly encourage you to log on and give us a like on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're always sharing tons of great information there. Well, I'm Mark Ingham, and thanks for joining me on this edition of Explore Richland. Now, Terry, let's go check out some of these prefabs.
All right, let's do that.